April 4th, 1922. Neighbors found 6 bodies on a remote farm in Bavaria, all bludgeoned with a mattock, the family's own tool. 4 in the barn, stacked like cordwood, covered in hay. 2 more in the house. The youngest was just 2 years old. The killer didn't run. They stayed for days. They fed the animals, used the fireplace, cooked food in the kitchen, and ate from the family's pantry, all while 6 bodies lay dead around them. Some believe it was a grudge. Others say the family was watched. What's certain is that whoever did it knew every corner of the farm, knew the family's routines, and felt no urgency to leave. This is the story of Hinterkaifeck, a crime that left evidence behind that the world still struggles to explain. Cold Trail Stories, where every shadow has a story, and every mystery leaves something behind. Hinterkaifeck was not a village. It wasn't even a hamlet. It was a single farmstead in rural Bavaria. There were no passing roads and no neighbors. In the early spring of 1922, 6 people lived on the farm. Andreas Gruber, 63, a hard-handed man who measured his days in work and expected the same from everyone else. His wife, Kazilia Gruber, 72, a quiet woman carrying years in the lines of her face. Their daughter, Victoria Gabriel, 35, a widow now, raising 2 small children under that same roof. Little Kazilia Gabriel, 7, and Joseph Gabriel, just 2, and still unsteady on his feet. Then there was Maria Baumgartner, 44, a new maid who had come to start that very week. Maria arrived on March 31st, around 5 o'clock, with her sister, Franziska Schaefer. She helped her unpack and stayed long enough to settle her in. When it was time for Franziska to leave, they said their goodbyes, and she left. Franziska later remembered how lonely the farm felt that afternoon. It was more isolated than they expected. For a brief hour or 2, everything felt ordinary. A new person in the house, a sister's goodbye, and the door closing against the evening chill. And that was the last time anyone saw them alive. The murders did not come without warning, but the warnings were small, inconsistent, and easy to dismiss. The previous maid, Kretzenz Rieger, worked at the farm from November 1920 until September 1921, nearly a year. In a later statement, she said she heard strange sounds in the attic every night, not scurrying, not random, but slow and deliberate. Rieger would alert the family every time she heard something from the attic, but every time they checked, nothing was ever found. Years later, Rieger added another detail. She said that around midnight, her locked bedroom door would open, and she never saw anyone standing there. This didn't happen once. It happened again, and almost always at the same time. After months of this, Rieger left. In the days before the murders, the family noticed other warning signs. A Munich newspaper appeared on the property one day. No one had ordered it, and no one nearby subscribed to it. Then, the house keys went missing. And the day before Maria arrived, Andreas Gruber found footprints in fresh snow, clear tracks leading from the forest toward the farm's engine shed, none leading back out. The Grubers were now anxious. They told the postman, Joseph Mayer, about the newspaper and the footprints in the snow. The family believed someone was living on their property. Sometime during the night of March 31st, something happened on the farm. No one knows who was there with the family, but investigators believe the family was lured into the barn, one by one. Andreas, his wife Kazilia, Victoria, and little Kazilia were bludgeoned in the barn with a mattock. At close range, their bodies were stacked and covered with hay. The new maid, Maria, and 2-year-old Joseph were killed in the house. Joseph lay dead in his bassinet, his body covered with one of his mother's skirts. Maria was killed in her chambers, just hours into her new job. her body covered with sheets. There were no signs of struggle, no evidence of forced entry. Whoever did this was not in a hurry. They knew every corner of the farm, and they knew the family's routine. The killer did not flee. They stayed for days. They tended to the livestock, used the fireplace, and ate from the family's pantry for several days. Smoke was seen from the chimney. Neighbors noticed it, but no one checked. The calendar was torn to April 1st, all while 6 bodies lay dead in the house and barn. On April 1st, young Kazilia missed school. No one from the farm attended church. On April 2nd, a mechanic named Albert Hoffner arrived to fix the engine. There was no one in the house. The animals were restless, but they were fed. Not suspecting anything strange, he worked for hours and left. On April 3rd, mail piled up. Neighbors started noticing the silence. Finally, on April 4th, concerned neighbors Lorenz Schlittenbauer, Michael Pohl, and Jacob Sigel broke into the farm. They discovered 6 bodies, 4 in the barn and 2 in the house. Lorenz was first to step into the barn, and the first to trip over a body. He even had a key to the house. No blood trails, no signs of robbery, no signs of struggle, but the crime scene was compromised almost immediately. Curious locals walked freely through the farm, moving bodies and destroying potential evidence. Police and investigators from Munich arrived that evening. Autopsies from a contaminated crime scene confirmed blunt force trauma. 7-year-old Kazilia, whose lower jaw was shattered, remained alive for several hours after the attack. When they found her body, her small hands were tangled in her own hair. Out of agony, and possibly from terror, she had ripped her hair out in clumps. Despite extensive questioning and hundreds of suspects, no one was ever charged. The case fueled endless speculation. Initially, the investigators thought the motive of the murders may have been robbery. The Grubers were wealthy. There were rumors of gold hidden somewhere on the property. The police searched the farm, but gold was still there. Whoever did this hadn't come for the money. The first suspect was Lorenz Schlittenbauer, neighbor and possible father of Joseph. He knew the farm, had a key, and behaved oddly at the scene. But he won slander suits and no evidence stuck. The second suspect were the Bickler brothers. They were known thieves who harassed the previous maid, but they vanished before questioning. Some believed Victoria's husband, Carl Gabriel, had not died in the war after all. Maybe he had returned in secret, and when he found out that she was raising another man's child, he acted out of jealousy. This explained the violence, the intimacy, and how the killer knew the farm, but it was only a theory. Each theory explained part of the crime, but none explain all of it. In 2007, a police academy review pointed to a suspect, but the name remains secret, out of respect for descendants. Hinterkaifeck was torn down in 1923 to prevent the location from serving as a morbid reminder of the tragedy. During the demolition, a pocket knife and a mattock were recovered from the attic. The mattock was still covered with blood. Nothing stands there now. No house, no barn, no answers. What remains is a small concrete monument near the original location called Hinterkaifeck Andachtstätte that serves as a memorial to the victims. Germany closed the case unsolved, but the victims deserve remembrance, not just the mystery. They were Andreas Gruber, Kazilia Gruber, Victoria Gabriel, Kazilia Gabriel, Joseph Gabriel, and Maria Baumgartner. 6 ordinary lives cut short on a quiet farm. Some crimes leave no evidence. This one left too much, and still refused to explain itself. The trail doesn't end here. Subscribe to Cold Trail Stories for more mysteries in the dark.